What's up, everybody? How's it going tonight? It's Carpo, as usual. Podcast number something, something, something. And I've actually been thinking a few days about this video, just on and off. I was like, somebody asked me last week, could you do a video on your thoughts on the afterlife? And I thought, how do you even make a video like that? Now, if you're a Christian, it's very easy. You say, I believe in heaven, and if you're a Buddhist, you say, well, I believe in reincarnation. And but if you're not a Buddhist, you're not a Christian, not a Jew, you have no religion, and you grew up with no religion, then what do you believe? Well, it's more than just what I may believe. It's the issue of I don't even like talking about it anymore because so many people are so sensitive, which is funny because years ago I would actually talk about religion all the time. I would bring it up and say, Christians are this or that, or they just haven't understood reality. I don't feel that way anymore, and I don't mean that in a way that I'm saying I'm Christian or I believe in Christianity. In fact, I think it's absurd. But I understand that if human beings have found something to hang on to understand, to believe that works for them, regardless of whether it's true or not, I say if you truly have faith, maybe that's really what it's all about. Not faith to forgive you for anything you've done, or faith in a particular God that's going to save you. But rather the idea of having faith saves you from a life of turmoil and hatred and problems. And now if you're not a religious person, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a hateful person by any means. In fact, I would say that atheism and religion are, if I were to say, I shouldn't get into statistics, but religion causes a lot of problems. Let's just put it that way. I think what it comes down to is heaven and hell. Heaven on earth, or heaven in the clouds, or in some other realm. And I've come to terms with the idea that we create our own hell or heaven on earth. And regardless of what happens after we die, we have to live this reality in this world, three-dimensional world. And trying to understand the world is kind of our nature. We are all trying to understand where we come from. Some of us bind onto certain belief systems, and that works for us. But what I've found is religion tends to equal division. And I know that's not always true on the small scale, but it can be on the small scale. Many people disown their children because they're not Christians any longer, and families get into arguments about which God is real. And personally, I think that it does more damage than good, but also feel that people need something to hang on to. So what do we do? Now, does this mean that I'm an atheist? No. In fact, I actually believe that Creator is everything, if you will, but that the universe is Creator. And a lot of people think that's a cop-out to say that the universe is conscious and it's aware and it knows what we're thinking. And in a way, it's kind of like God, if you will. The same kind of idea, God is something that's ever present and watching over us. And at least to this theory, don't get me wrong, it's not what I believe. But I do, in the sense that it's not about God as a being watching over us. It's about the idea that we are all part of God, and that we are watching over ourselves. We are watching over each other. That we are, gosh, if you want to say it, we're witnesses, but not to a biblical God. The Jehovah's Witnesses have it right, but not in the sense of witnessing that God, but in witnessing life and being witnesses to this life. One of the major issues that I have with religion is that people seem to want to find some sort of a resolution in believing that when they die, everything will be okay. And I don't know. You know, it's like that can be very comforting in this world, in this reality, but it doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean that we will have an afterlife. In fact, when the Mormons came to my door a week ago, they asked me, they said, "Wouldn't you love to live in eternity with your whole family?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Are there any conflicts or issues that could cause me to feel like I'm part of something greater, or that I actually have challenges?" Now, when you look at human nature, what do we revere the most? One of the most things that we revere the most, I should say, one of the things is human nature, right? Overcoming challenges. So let's just picture you're in heaven and everything works out for you and you have no issues. What kind of a challenge is that? And what kind of a lazy bastard would you become? You know what I mean? So it's about not missing life while we're here and hoping for something better. But what I've learned is that many people tend to, and not all people, but a lot of people who really fuck up in their life tend to fall into the belief in a higher power that's going to save them from themselves, if you will. And I think it's important we take credit for our own actions and realize that it is a higher power, perhaps, but nothing we can understand. And we don't have to pray or, revere or worship any type of deity in order to be good people. And if you look at children, the one thing you realize is they forgive everyone. A kid can get in a fight. My kids, my two youngest sons, they fight, and not physically. Of course they hit each other, but we try to minimize that. But they will, I'll hear them verbally bothering each other, but afterwards, they'll just let it go. It won't be an issue anymore. It will be, one kid says something totally harsh to the other where an adult might hold it in for weeks or months. And, the other kid's like, "I hate you." And then he lets it go. I think that that's important. But also the fact that kids don't judge, not the way we judge. We're like, adults want to explain that, somebody's black, or that they're different, or they have a different culture, all PC bullshit. I'm like, I'm letting my kids grow up in a world where, some people will be religious, some won't. Some people will be different than them, and they'll have to figure it out for themselves how to cope with it. I don't know the best way to deal with that, but I've also had opposition to religion, because religion tends to judge more than any, I should say, religious people tend to judge others more than anyone else that I've ever met. And it's sad, because I know that not all Christians are that way, not all Jews are that way, not all Muslims are that way. I'm totally not picking on religion, because as I said at the beginning, I think that it's a useful tool, and I think that it helps a lot of people. And it's painful to navigate this world. I get it. I totally get it. And that's not condescending or anything. It's like, I am almost jealous. And I think a lot of atheists and agnostics, whatever you might call yourself, are jealous of people who can convince themselves that when they die, they will go to a greater place. So to come full circle, what do I think of an afterlife? I don't believe in one. And to consolidate the reason why, because I've rambled for so long, pardon me. Yes, I know somebody will say, oh, you've had a couple drinks. Yes, I have a cranberry vodka here. And I took a couple bong hits. But how else do you answer a question of what life is and what life's about, without, it's... What do I think about an afterlife? I think that, like I said before, challenges are what life's about. But I feel so... It's sad that so many people miss this life because they're hoping for a greater life in the next world. And meanwhile, they're judging everybody else. And I guess that's why I decided to have maybe do this after having a couple drinks and a toke. Because I know a lot of religions and people in certain religions are ultra judgmental of those who use drugs. And psychedelics are something I didn't mention, but I really wanted to. I wanted to talk about the near-death experience and DMT, the pineal gland, the experiences people have on psychedelics, psilocybin, LSD, dimethyltryptamine or DMT, or 5-MeO DMT or NN-DMT. I have a vast experience in all of them, and I don't think they're the be-all end-all of understanding reality, but what they have given me is a perspective of there's something greater out there than us that we can't comprehend, and that religion has a little bit of truth to it, but only in the sense that they say that God is unspeakable, unnameable, unseeable, all these different things. You can gain a little bit from all belief systems because, in my opinion, they're all trying to pin down and write down their intense psychedelic experiences, even if they're induced by natural circumstances, if you will. And in fact, as I sit here and smoke cannabis in my legal state, which is like no big deal cannabis, it's been such a big deal in the U.S., but in other countries, hash eaters, that's been a form of meditation for some people. And psilocybin, psychedelics, mushrooms, ayahuasca, ibogaine, they've all been used ritualistically for, countless decades, centuries, maybe millennia, who knows. But I think it's important to acknowledge the creator, whatever it may be, but to not be overly obsessed. In other words, it's okay to say, fuck you, God, eat shit. And if you truly mean it as a joke, if you don't, in other words, if you're not a hateful person, if you're not doing anything to harm others, offending a being in the sky is not something that's going to cause you pain. You cause your own pain. Positive effects in your life are caused by positive actions. And negative ones, it will bring negativity. If you think about negativity, if you try to, promote negativity towards other people, it's the old the idea of curses. It's not like all of pseudoscience and history and mythology is true. It's that it all represents a certain amount of truth within reality, which is that karma is real to a degree. Not in the sense that if you do something bad, necessarily something the same badness is going to happen to you. But it will. But only through your own guilt. When you harm someone else and you feel guilty. Sociopaths, maybe they get a free ticket. I don't know. I'm sure they suffer in their own ways. Anyway, that's my ramble for the night. Have a wonderful night, everybody. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.